Welcome to Triangle BNI. Today's show is brought to you by Oak City Tech. We talk all the time about the digital world and how you need professionals like Drago and his team at Oak City Tech to get to your current clients, your future clients, whether it's an email, whether it's a social media post. You need professionals to help you get your message out. Go to oakcitytech.com. Tell them what you're looking for. I know they'll be able to help you. Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Manning. Each week on Triangle BNI, we bring you a local small business success story. If you are not familiar with BNI, it is Business Networking International, the world's largest networking organization. In our little slice of heaven here in the Triangle, Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill, each week about 31 chapters, almost 530 people get together, and our sole purpose is to help each other grow our businesses. Our local small business success story today is Cindy Strausser with New York Life. Cindy is in RD24, the Apex Business Builders. They meet Thursday mornings at 9 a.m., so if you are in the Apex area or you want to meet some cool business professionals in the Apex area, please visit Cindy's chapter. Cindy, good morning. How are you?
Morning, Mike. How are you?
Doing well. I have to take a quick second. I was off last week. This is a weekly show. It's my favorite time of the week because I just love these, meeting people, having friends on and learning stuff. But I was gone last week. Our youngest son, on April 8th, let me say that, was married. We're down in Clearwater, Florida for a wedding.
Fine.
And so we have two boys, and this is our oldest one's married, and now our youngest one is married. So it's a lot of fun, family gatherings. It's just fun to see your kids happy. And they picked the date of April 8th because if you take the number 8 and lay it on its side, it's the symbol for infinity.
Oh, that's cool.
So their anniversary date is always now for infinity. And I like that from husband standpoints. We'll get to Rick and how good he is in a little bit of, wow, can I remember that?
That's really
and
awesome.
we had a lot of fun, but we're traveling back and we drove down there and just family gatherings are the best. We laugh, some of them you see every now and then, some you don't see for a while. You got cousins down there. There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the on my side of the family, my wife's side of the family, there's 10 cousins, and 8 of them were down there.
Oh,
and so we had a lot of fun. The one
Yeah.
thing I learned, I don't know the last time you've been to a resort, but I didn't realize your drinks can pile up because all you have to do is sign to your room. You don't have to pull out your credit card. You don't have to do any of that.
Trust me.
Yeah, they hand you the sheet of
Learned that
paper
on
to
a
sign
cruise
room
one time.
2302, whatever it is. Like, hey, and then you look at the bill, 21 drinks. Who else were we buying for? So,
Like they're free until you have to get
they're free.
to the
Yeah,
bill part.
till you check out, they're free, which is great. They taste so much better
Yeah.
that way. Yeah. So, anyways, I missed everybody last Monday. I'm very glad to be back. I thoroughly enjoyed this time, and Cindy, glad to have you here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So let's talk about some of the things you do. New York Life Insurance. There are many levels of what you do. First of all, we were laughing before we came on here about we know nothing of insurance. We know we have it. We don't always know what we have. But usually we can answer yes or no. Do you have auto coverage, home coverage, life insurance, things like that. But we really have no idea. What I like about, and you and I have known each other for a little bit, and we've had some good conversations about this. What I like about what you do is we think life insurance, that fits into this box right here and only this box, and nothing could be further from the truth.
So true.
What you do there's numerous ways you can help people. And peace of mind is what I love about it. But it's not the traditional life insurance anymore, is it?
No, it's not. And, so many people are changing jobs now and are realizing that, okay, well, I had life insurance with my company and now I don't. And wow, I'm this age and it can be, a bit more expensive, obviously, than what they were paying for with their employer, if they even paid for it. But that's why you should always have your own coverage.
Yeah, when, let's just say you and I were about 30 minutes older than everybody else. Let's just leave it at that, okay?
Right.
So back in our day, we got everything from our employer. We
Oh,
never had
yeah.
to ask. There was no reason to go into the marketplace, none of that. And
Ever.
now, sometimes you may get it from your employer, but now
I
sometimes
know.
you can find it cheaper elsewhere, and that's where somebody like you comes in.
Right, right. And, what I do is sit down and really go over everything that they have. If it's husband and wife, everything that both of them have to make sure that, we fill in any gaps that are there. It's great to have coverage at work if they offer it. But, you know, like I said, it's that gap coverage that I really want to make sure that I review with people. And if you have a mortgage, you want to make sure that's covered for a certain amount of time until it's paid off. There's just lots of ways to do it, and everybody's unique. So there's not a one size fits all when it comes to life insurance.
And I think a couple things you mentioned here, gaps, first of all, and we'll get to that second because I wrote it down so I can remember it now because, I'm a good host, so I have to write it down now. Otherwise, I get off on my own tangents, right?
Right.
I until I got into BNI, and I don't know if that says more about me or more about how good BNI is. I had no idea you could get insurance on your mortgage to make sure you're covered if you bought a house. A lot of these things I had no idea about.
Right.
When you have conversations with people, are they aware that, oh, I didn't even know that was available?
Well, I think sometimes when I ask people a question, do you have term? Do you have whole life? Well, first of all, people will say either yes, and maybe they don't know, or they say, I don't know. And it's a difference between renting insurance and buying a home, really. It's kind of the way that I explain it. And, there's some insurance that you don't, you need something to cover your mortgage, but you don't need that forever. And while you have kids at home and you want to make sure they're covered for college, again, you don't need that forever. So that's where temporary or term insurance comes in.
Or you can cover them for college. Walk me through
Well, I
that.
mean, you want to cover yourself,
Right.
like
Yeah.
putting the mask on
When,
on the airplane
yeah.
before you're
When do you
for
start
others.
that?
I am a huge proponent of that, about 6 or 7 days after the baby comes. Then you talk to your life insurance agent. I recently had a grandmother call me she had another grandson and she wanted to put life insurance on him right away. So, and that's a great way to save money for college because
Okay.
you don't, whereas a 529 plan, all of that money in that bucket is looked at when you go and apply for grants and loans. Money from cash value life insurance is not
Really?
included in that. Yeah.
All right. So hang on a sec. So if I have a kid born 3 weeks ago, or let's say 10 years ago, and 3 days
Mhm.
after they're born, I started that 529, and let's just pick a number. Let's just say there's $10,000 in that account, and the
Right.
kid's 10 years old.
Right.
That factors in to a
It does.
credit report and everything?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Whereas the cash value life insurance is not included, not at this time.
I
So,
did not know that.
yeah. So it's a great way, and that cash value can either be used for college or it can be gifted for a wedding or gifted for whatever. Or they can just let it
Yeah.
grow until they need it and want to spend it however they want. So,
Yeah, I always, of course, find any way to bring in my grandson, Oliver,
oh, yes.
who we got to see. And by the way,
Oh,
on or
yes.
about August 16th, we'll be grandparents again, and it will be a
Oh, that's
granddaughter.
exciting.
So my friends and I have had a good chuckle about me because we
Uh-huh.
have two boys and I have a grandson. I have four nieces. I have six nieces, but wasn't really around them a whole lot. I visit
Right,
them, but
right.
wasn't around them growing up because none of us lived around each other. But they're like, oh, she's gonna have you wrapped around your finger. I'm like, she can paint my fingernails whatever color she wants. I'll go to a board meeting. I don't care. I want to tell people I have a granddaughter. She is so cool to do stuff with.
Exactly.
I don't care what
Yeah.
it looks like. I'm wearing it out. So,
Right, right.
so let's talk grandparents here because most grandparents want to do stuff for their
Yeah.
grandkids. What
Yes.
type of things would you recommend for us to look into?
Definitely buying them a policy, and they can actually either, you know, We can set it up that where they can pay it over 5 years. They can do a one-time payment. We can put it into a deposit account that actually earns interest if they want it to pay for, want to pay for it over the years. But there's tax implications and putting it all in at the same time. But definitely gifting. My mom did that a couple of years ago because my nieces literally have everything that you can imagine. So it's very hard to buy for them. So I was like, Mom, why don't you just get them a life insurance policy? So she did. So she'll pay for that. And then I'll probably take it over, and then my sister will take it over. And I did the same thing for my sister when we were growing up because she's 15 years younger than me.
Yep.
So.
And I do want to get into that story as well. But going back to kids having everything, my brother and I are a year and a half apart, but he married later in life. Right. And so my kids are 35 and 31, and his kids are 19 and 16.
Oh, wow.
And when they were little, his kids had all four grandparents near. They were all four in Raleigh, and so they're getting gifts all the time. And he finally just started telling everybody else, here's the 529 plan, just put money in there. They got
exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's true because, that's a gift that, when you give something like that for life insurance, I mean, that's a gift for life.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And it'll come in way more handy than, I mean, Tonka trucks are the standard for little boys. I don't know what for little girls are, but for boys, but even a policy would be better than a Tonka truck in, 15, 18 years. So, but you're right. It's things like that I don't believe anybody ever, explained that to me when we became parents. And so that's one of the neat things I like about BNI is I get to meet people like you who can, just in an average conversation, whether I become a client or anybody else becomes a client, it's like, hey, tell me more. Here's some things to think about. And you get smarter that way. The other thing you mentioned a couple times is gaps. And you talk about, is that usually when people are changing jobs?
That's what we've seen a lot of now, or they're retiring. A lot of people are retiring early. And I have some friends that are doing that very soon. And, they've worked for a great company. They have a pension. They have all the stuff that we had back in the day. But the one thing they won't have when they retire is life insurance. So, you don't really think about that until you need it. And then when you're in your 60s, it's not cheap. So,
no, I'm learning that too.
Yeah. I just wish I could go back and know now, or what I, know now,
what I didn't know then. Yes.
Correct.
Isn't that the Toby Keith song? Wish I knew now what I didn't know now what I didn't know then, but that's for a different reason, but we'll get to that later.
Right.
But you're right though, I think people are more aware today than, 40, I started work. My first job out of college was 39 years, almost 40 years ago. And that never came up. We were bulletproof, everything. Of course, everything was $2 back then, so you didn't think much of anything because it didn't cost much. But conversations like that never came up, which is one of the reasons why I enjoy this show is we get to share tips like this for folks, just to think about, or even just like you said earlier, call your insurance agent, see what you have.
Yeah, see what you have, right.
And the other thing I've learned, and thankfully Becky and I haven't been burned by this yet, but I know some people have, is they have coverage, but it's the wrong coverage or the incomplete coverage.
Right. Right. Yeah, I bought a policy when I was 24 or 25, and I had no idea after going through all of the training and getting my license, I'm like, oh, why did I buy that? But I had no idea what it was.
No, it wasn't talked about back then.
No.
Life, death, or insurance, death, and taxes just weren't brought up at the kitchen table usually. And now I hope they are in many houses, at least just so everybody's prepared. And that's the thing, because if you really, truly want to take care of your loved ones, this is how you do it. So when you're gone, they don't have to worry about X, Y, and Z because it's already covered and taken care of. So one of the other things I learned about life insurance, how it factors into owning a small business.
Oh, yes, big time,
Talk
especially if you have
talk
a
more
business
about
partner.
that. Yeah, talk more about
Yeah.
that for us.
It's really important, even if you have some sort of contract with your business partner, to make sure that, your buy-sell agreement is in place. And normally that includes a term life policy on each other. So that if something happens to your business partner, you don't have to worry about dealing with their family. Their family would use that life insurance money to, or you would use that life insurance money to buy the business
Yeah.
from their family as part of the agreement.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
the last thing spouses probably want to do is inherit a company that their spouse was doing and they have
right. Or
zero
they have no,
interest. So it's two questions they need to answer. One is, do you want to own a business? And then, do you
right,
want to own a business in this industry? And I think
right,
most chances, both answers are no.
right. Yeah, I know of a business owner that's a friend of mine that says, "Oh yeah, we've talked about it. We have an agreement, but they don't have an agreement on paper.
Mm.
They don't have life insurance on each other. It's
Yep. And one of the partners can bring that up all they want, but
oh
if
yeah,
it's not written anywhere, right? They're
no,
in a,
exactly,
yeah, they're in
yeah,
and that just
could be a
answers.
bad situation.
It just is a friend of mine's mom died a few months back, and there was no paperwork to set up power of attorney or anything like that. And it took a good couple of months just to run that through the system so my friend could take care of everything.
Oh yeah,
And
oh yeah,
then we go on having, so my, Becky and I and our brothers and sisters were all, 58 and up. So we've got
right.
aging parents left, the ones that do. Um, just even like, look, one of the kids is on the parent's bank account. Again,
Right.
transitions like that make, you can help, just little things like that with the life insurance, everything written down on paper. So that's what I like
Yeah.
about what you do, is because there's way more that's involved
Oh
than just
yeah. And
just the three words New York life. There's way more involved in this.
there's two things that you can do for your family. One is have life insurance, and number two is have an estate plan. Those are the two
Ah,
most important things you can do with your for your family.
okay.
Because my mom and I've had this discussion. However, I've not gotten her to an attorney yet. And unfortunately, she lives in Virginia, because I know some great state attorneys in North Carolina. But when that time comes, I just want to be able to grieve and not deal with a bunch of paperwork. I don't want to deal with
Yeah.
figuring things out and putting a puzzle together and all that.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
especially if you're a child of a parent that dies and you're not wired to, deal with
no,
all the banks and the creditors and filing the
no,
paperwork with the state. And,
right,
I didn't
right.
know till we lost our dad in 2013. And my brother, thankfully, was the executor for both mom and dad. And he was the
Right,
right one that, should have been. I
right.
didn't know you had to put a notice in the newspaper that so and so has died, so all the creditors can find that and come get money
Oh
if
yeah,
they're owed it. I had
yeah,
no idea, but
yeah.
he knew because he studied that way. And
Right,
but
right. Yeah.
so tell me how you got into. I know the story, but share with us how you got into the insurance world, because you've not been in that long, but you have connections to.
Since
Wow, this really helps.
yeah, so let's see, where do I start? So growing up, my sister Andrea was born severely brain damaged. It was back when they used to knock the mom completely out. Um, so she did not, she couldn't do anything for herself. She couldn't bathe herself, she couldn't dress herself, she couldn't feed herself, all of that. She was non-ambulatory, so um, anyway, when she was 16, I was 19. She passed away suddenly, unexpectedly. And I just remember sitting in the funeral home thinking, gosh, my parents do not have the money for this funeral. And that just really bothered me. So going forward, um, my sister was 3 at the time when my sister Andrea died. Um, so when I was like 24, I bought policies on myself and on her, just to have that coverage, just in case. I mean, and that's not the number. not the only reason to buy life insurance is for that part, because there's some living benefits to the life insurance policies. Both my sister and I have taken advantage of those living benefits. But it really just stuck with me. And the other part is being in the service industry pretty much my whole life. Customer service wise is what kind of brought me to this point. I was selling beer and wine in the Outer Banks. My husband and I moved here in 2017, and I transferred and did that. And then I loved it. I loved all of my clients were great. I just kind of felt like there was a calling to do something that mattered a little bit more than, a nice bottle of wine is great. Don't get me wrong, but there's something more important that I could do to help people.
Yeah. And that makes getting up in the morning better. And
it does.
When I'm sure the look, because I know the aha moment I have when I'm working with a client just to help their business, and all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, I didn't even think about that." But when you get people to put stuff on paper and enroll in a program or whatever it is that's going to help them or their family, must be huge satisfaction knowing that.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Just to know that, and obviously I've worked with a lot of people that are close to me to make sure that they're covered, because I feel like I at least have to say that, even if somebody doesn't want to talk to me about it, I at least have to say it to give myself peace of mind, to know that, they know they can come to me to talk about whatever questions they have. And it's really important to me that people are educated on what's out there, what their options are, whether they buy it from me or not. It's so important for people to sit down and have that conversation, because the last thing I want to see from anybody I know is a GoFundMe page for somebody's funeral or to help with their kids' education.
And if you buy a lot of these things at the right time in your life, it's not real expensive.
Right. It's not.
If you're 25 today in good health,
right,
you're rolling into something pretty cheap and easy, but you have full coverage. Yeah.
Even if you start with a simple term policy, that's at least starting.
Yep.
Yep.
I always enjoy the research I do on guests coming on the show, because I learn little things that I didn't know, especially if I know them and I learn something like, oh, I can't wait to ask this. So, so you had mentioned Tryon Distributing. We're going to get to 1,000 Oaks Barrel Company, but I found out, Cindy, you were a bartender.
Oh, I was. Yeah.
Oh, tell me how that came about. So I always want to know, did you enjoy it? And how much stories did you get from people telling you about their day or their week? And you're like, dude, you're lying through your teeth. I know that's not right.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've been a bartender a couple of times. The longest time, I think, was at the beach when I first moved to the beach. When I moved to the Outer Banks from Richmond, when Circuit City laid me off back in 2001. I was like, gosh. I had all these friends trying to get me a job at Capital One or, any other business in Richmond. And I was like, I think I'm going to go to the beach for like maybe the summer. And then I was there for 17 years. So, yeah. But when I moved to the beach, I had full severance pay, which was great. It was like, retirement almost. In hindsight, I probably should have been a little smarter about that. I had a great summer. But yeah, I bartended there and a couple of places at the beach, and it was fun. I always like, just the stories and the people that you meet are priceless. So.
Yeah, it's some people, and I would imagine on more days than not, you truly are an ear for somebody. Just because sometimes every now and then you'll hear the phrase, sometimes it's easier to talk to a stranger.
Oh, yeah.
Because sometimes you just want to get off your chest, right?
Right.
And I'm sure some people you really felt bad for, and then others were just like, dude, no.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I didn't have at the beach, people were pretty happy because they were on vacation.
Yep.
We did have, locals come in that you already knew anyway. So.
Did you make good money?
Yeah, I did.
And do bartenders get paid like servers do at like $2.18 an hour or whatever it is?
They do.
And so you're working on tips.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
So what was the bet? What's a trick for an up and coming bartender to make sure they get a decent tip?
Decent tip. I don't know. It's always remembering their name, which is
Okay.
same in business, any business.
All right.
Um, kind of catching, somebody's child's name or being able to relate it back. I mean, it's all about sales. It's really
Yeah.
just everything about sales.
Yeah, because if I come sit down at the bar and however my name comes up and, I'm there, say Amnon and I are there and we're talking and you keep checking in and
Right.
then you come back like 35 minutes later and go, right, Mike, Amnon, you guys good? I would be like, wow.
Right. Right. Yeah. And
So
I mean, it's,
it's like,
it's about building the
yeah,
relationship
here's
and
another
feeling
12% on
comfortable.
the tip. Good job. And,
Right. Right.
so if do you have enough data to answer the question, who tips better, men or women?
It's usually, well, it's usually men. I hate to say it.
Mm.
Yeah. Because we would dread like a whole group of women coming in, like, oh, that's it. Although I feel like that's changed a little
Okay.
bit,
All right.
you know.
Could you ever tell if they were moms, if moms tip better than single women or dads tip better than single guys?
Yes. I would say moms tip better than single women. And I don't know, it depends. Single guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Could you tell if somebody drinking at your bar either was or had been in the hospitality industry?
Oh, yeah,
And
100%.
so they
I
knew that,
mean,
yep.
oh, yeah. My husband has been in the hospitality industry his whole life. So um, when he and I first met, they used to tip each other like $100 back
Wow.
and forth. I mean, they would basically pass the same $100 bill back and forth. I was like, oh my God, you're going to tip that much? But then it would come back. So,
Oh,
and I
that's
remember my mom being in, my husband was bartending up in Duck and my mom was visiting and she was with some friends and there were some ladies flirting with my husband. And I was like, no, that's fine, Mom. That means they're going to tip him.
by the
Doesn't
way,
that bother you? I said, no, they'll
no,
just tip better.
no. It's like, what's in it for me?
Work
Oh,
it,
more
babe. Work
money?
it.
Absolutely.
Right.
By the way, Duck, if people have never been to Duck or to the coast there, Corolla, right? All those little towns right around there.
Corolla.
Corolla, sorry. Duck Donuts. Oh
Oh,
man,
yeah.
they're the
Started
best.
there. Mm-hmm.
Their bacon glazed donut. Yeah, yeah, that's a keeper right there. So when we
Yeah, I picked
order a
up.
mixed dozen, we always get 2 bacon donuts and cut them
Oh, yeah.
in fours. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because hospitality people, you're right, they take care of each other.
They do. They do. Yeah.
Now, there will be some people watching and listening today that have never heard of Circuit City. I hate to break it to you,
I
Cindy.
know. Isn't that sad?
But in its day, it was the player, wasn't it, for
It
electronics?
was.
Yeah,
It was. Yeah. I started working there. Well, I'm not going to say what year, but early.
yeah,
Um, you know, before Best Buy was around.
yeah,
And
yeah. And
yeah, it was a lot of fun. I still have relationships. I talked to most of the people that I worked with originally. It was a big family and a lot of fun, and yeah, I
yeah,
learned a lot.
and when they went under, of course, yeah, when they went under, that
Yeah.
was a big deal. But yeah, in its day, I mean, that's where everybody went.
Oh yeah,
It was
and I mean
almost,
their training was second to none. I
oh,
mean, we did
really?
not. Every single salesperson went through, I think, 2 or 3 weeks of training in the store, and then every single salesperson went to Richmond for a week for training. And if they didn't pass, they were sent home early. So
When did you guys get wind of, oh, this thing may go away?
I remember I was in corporate operations when they made the decision to pull major appliances out in October, September or October. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, there were some decisions being made along the way that you were like, ugh. CarMax was a great decision because CarMax was spun off from Circuit City.
Oh, I didn't
Um,
know that.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So, and back in the day when Circuit City was growing, I used to travel all over the country and train new people. After I worked in the store, I worked in the training department. So, I would be out for 2 weeks at a time anywhere in the country, and then, train them on security and operations, the their point of sale system, which was in-house created, which was, I mean, amazing for the time that it was. But yeah,
Why did they
and then
decide to pull appliances?
to sell music, to sell CDs and stuff.
Uh,
But that was just essentially just taking here
yeah,
Lowe's,
yeah,
here
yeah.
Home Depot, here Sears.
Wow.
Um,
And so that's what started it. You
yeah, and then
believe?
they were, I went on a trip with someone one time, and we shopped Best Buy, and that was before Best Buy came to the East Coast. So we went to Minneapolis and, secret shopped. And that was when they were really worried about Best Buy and wanted to, kind of emulate, thinking they were saying, wanted to be ahead of the game, when in fact, I feel like if they would have stayed the course
Wow.
and kept educated salespeople, that, because then they just they didn't offer commission anymore. They were hourly. A lot of people were let go. I mean, back in the early 90s, I knew people that made $100,000 a year selling TVs
Wow.
and VCRs. You could make a lot of money. So,
What was the connection with CarMax?
Richard Sharp, who was the CEO of Circuit City, and Austin Ligon together formed CarMax. So it was
Wow.
under the Circuit City umbrella, and then they spun it off separate.
I had
Yeah.
no idea.
Yeah. So we had shares of CarMax stock that were,
Okay.
in the end, that was worth more than worth more than my Circuit City stock.
But the good news was your severance got you through a summer at the beach.
It did.
If I've
That's
learned
right.
anything
The moral
today,
of the
it's
story.
and you wish you'd had about 20% of that in a bank account right now, right?
Yes, right now that would be great. Yeah.
In your day with Tryon Distributing,
Mhm.
I read, as your bio said, you had over on or about 120 accounts or so with
Yeah.
95% customer loyalty.
Yeah.
How'd you do that?
Same way I talk to my bar customers, and it really, working in the Outer Banks, my territory was Ocracoke Island to Duck.
Okay.
So I had, small business owners who, if you've been to Hatteras Island, or if you watch the Weather Channel, that they're cut off a lot of times when there's a storm. So people that live there have a really hard, I mean, it's hard to make a living there. So really being invested in helping them, it was kind of a partnership. That's the way I looked at it. If I sell something that's going to sell great for them, then, it's a win-win situation. So,
Yeah. And
and really being there for my customers 24/7. I mean, they knew they could call me. I would drive, back then our warehouse was in Charlotte. So I would have to drive to like Little Washington to meet a driver. That would be like just a 5 hour trip to go meet and get something for the weekend. But if I didn't go get it,
yeah,
they wouldn't have it. So,
we
it's
moved
just
to
building that relationship.
we moved to Daytona Beach in '99, and we lived there for 10 years. And I'd never been around a hurricane,
Oh,
never
yeah.
lived anywhere,
Yeah.
And because for some reason or another, when I grew up here in Raleigh, there were no hurricanes that came this way.
Right.
I may
Right.
not have remembered them, but I don't remember any coming this way, right? And I learned the priorities when you see a hurricane that could, head our way, was the dog store, the liquor store, and then the grocery store. Because if people had a pet, that pet was going to be taken care of. Their
Oh,
house
yeah.
may be floating down the road, but their dog was going to be there's going to be dog food and they had everything they need.
Exactly.
And then the
Exactly.
liquor store was more crowded than the grocery store
Oh, yeah.
was. And
Oh,
you
yeah.
and you get to the grocery store and the bread aisle's empty, the bottled water aisle is empty, and for some reason or other, the store we shopped at, the Cheese Whiz aisle was empty, but which was good because I didn't eat Cheese Whiz, so I don't feel like I was missing out on anything. But
Right.
you're right though, the prep work on those
Yeah.
islands is
Oh, yeah.
crucial.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I remember, I can't remember what year it was. It was Hurricane Arthur. Um, didn't affect any other part but Ocracoke. and they evacuated Ocracoke, and it was July. It was
Ooh.
right before 4th of July. So all
Ooh.
of my accounts had already gotten their 4th of July delivery, and they really didn't order anything else. They didn't need anything else after that,
Yeah. Yeah.
like they normally would. Normally they would have sold out that week, and then, but yeah.
I
And
hope
that's
it.
when I said, I think it's time to move.
Yeah. I hope at quarterly bonus time your bosses didn't hold that against you.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was tough.
Were
Yeah.
you able to sample new products when you were working for them?
Yes.
Okay, good. Good.
I mean, it was my job. I had to do
Naturally.
it.
Naturally. You had to.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's funny. So one of the places you worked at, and I didn't know much of it, 1,000 Oaks Barrel Company in Virginia.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right,
So it's
so
a,
let me see if I've got this straight, because I was on the website yesterday, and so you can age your own stuff, your own spirits, and I saw you had aging barrels for pickle, peppers, spirits.
oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
I would go buy a barrel and make my own stuff in my garage.
Yeah. You can.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a friend of mine that I've known since junior high. It's her husband's company. And he's been in business for over probably close to 25 years now. But yeah, you can buy those little barrels. You can do your own. They make great gifts for weddings, for like, for groomsmen, um,
Oh,
or bridesmaids.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, you can just, put something in there, age it. There's instructions. They also have this cool little thing. If you're a fan of anything smoked, it's called the fog hat.
Hmm.
And they, you put some, it's a newer product that they came out after I left, but you smoke it. It comes, you can put it on top of your drink and then smoke your own. And then they have that for foods if you want to smoke some cheeses or whatever.
Wow.
Yeah,
Are they still in business?
they are.
All
Yeah.
right, I may have
Oh yeah.
checked that out. Well, obviously, I was on the
Yeah.
website yesterday. That's a stupid question. Yeah, I'd need to check that out.
Yeah.
Um, Interesting. I
Yep.
like that. Now, you are from Richmond?
I am from Roanoke, Virginia, Star
Roanoke,
City
okay.
of the South.
Very good. The Tidewater area, correct?
No,
No?
Blue Ridge Mountains.
The hell's on the water then?
No.
Why do I think?
Richmond, and
No.
then
Anyways, my geography's bad. I'm still on vacation time, so I've been
yeah.
back a
So
week. I was doing some stuff this morning. There's 3 things I forgot to do last week, and I was here all week working. Totally forgot about doing it. I'm still on vacation time.
yeah. So do you know where Virginia Tech is?
Yeah, at Blacksburg, yeah.
Oh yeah. So not far from
Why do I want to put
Blacksburg.
that on the water? Oh, well.
Yeah.
Anyways. So your husband, Rick, I always like asking people on the show this question. How did you two meet, and do you both tell the story the same way?
No, we do not.
Good. Good.
Let's see. I had gotten laid off from my job at Circuit City, and I went to the beach by myself. I think it was in April of 2021. And I got a hotel room, an oceanfront hotel room, and just hung out for like 3 or 4 days. And I went to Goon Bays, which is on the beach road in Kill Devil Hills, and met a bunch of people. It was, still the off season. So, anyway, they used to have bands on Wednesday night. So I would go there, hang out, met him. And then what happened then? Then I just started to maybe stalk a little bit.
All right.
I was bartending in Richmond after being laid off. And then on Wednesdays, I would just go to Kill Devil Hills for band night and hang out. And then eventually, I met a lot of people and decided that's where I wanted to go for a while. Didn't move there for him. I moved there just because I wanted to live at the beach,
Yep.
check that off my bucket list. So, but yeah.
And
That's
where
how it
was
happened.
where was the first date?
What's the first date? Probably Quagmire's, which was a oceanfront bar on the beach that's no longer there, unfortunately.
And when did you start getting the sense of, there might be something here?
It was a while. I mean, we hung out. We had a lot of fun. We had a lot in common, and I remember one day he played a Lyle Lovett song, and then I was like, "Oh, brother, now this is serious."
So
It's like,
Lyle
oh my
Lovett.
gosh, and he loves Lyle Lovett. Like, what
Okay.
could be better than that?
Nice. What instrument does he play in the band, or is he
He does not.
he's a
Do you
singer?
know what? No. Oh, Lyle Lovett.
No. Rick, you said he played a Lyle Lovett song.
Oh yeah, like played it like on a CD back
Oh, okay,
then.
gotcha. All right, all right. Oh, okay.
Yes, yes.
No, that was good.
Are you
So,
familiar with Lyle?
oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So that music's good, snuggling up to each other. Music. Oh,
Oh,
okay,
it's great.
I
Yeah,
got you. All right.
yeah. That was our
And
first dance.
then, how would he tell the story different? You think?
Well, he would say that I stalked for sure.
Nothing wrong with it. Hey, it worked out good for him, didn't it?
It did.
That's all that really matters.
It did. I would just happen to be wherever he was because I was really good. I have good listening skills.
Good.
See, again, that comes into play with
That
sales.
customer
So,
service.
right, right,
He didn't know that
exactly.
you were
Yeah,
working and with your skill
right,
set, right?
right. Yeah. I'd ever heard him say he was going somewhere for work one day, and I have a friend whose mom had a beach house, and so they were out of town, and I didn't really have anywhere to stay. I wasn't planning on staying, so I went over to their place and got
Yep.
ready and
Yep.
all that.
You can tell real love when somebody uses a phrase, I wasn't planning on staying, but once I found out he was staying, I was staying. It's like when Becky and I met, finally, we'd run with the same group for a year, and we were at this restaurant in Austin, Texas. And it was a Sunday night. I was working at the University of Texas, and we were hosting the NCAA track and field championships.
Oh,
So
cool.
this was like 5:30 on a Sunday. I was ready to go home. And that's when I saw her, walked up to her and said hi. And she said, oh, are you going over to Lynn's house? And I said, are you going? She goes, yeah. And I said, oh, yeah, me too. Had no
Oh,
plans to
there
go
you
until I
go.
found out she
There
was
you
going.
go.
So
That's right.
that is what love will do to you.
Right. Yeah.
Before we came on the show, you were talking about your nieces.
Oh,
And
yes.
you were over there yesterday. We're sharing Easter candy and sugar rush stories.
Oh,
How
yeah.
old are your nieces?
So Emma just turned 7,
Okay.
and Willa will be 5 next month.
Now, did their sugar rush turn into a meltdown, or just they sat and got
Oh, I'm
quiet?
sure it did,
Yeah.
but I left way before it was
Yeah.
going to happen. Yeah.
We
And I was very careful. I bought them the exact same thing so that they wouldn't fight over it. But then they were playing together, and one wanted the story to go this way, and one wanted the story to go that way. And then they were screaming at each other. So it was fun.
when we were at the resort in Clearwater for Cameron's wedding, Oliver, our grandson, was there, and so my son decided, his dad, our oldest son, decided to get him it wasn't a virgin daiquiri, it was like some strawberry drink or something like that, but it had sugar in it, right? And so Oliver drank the drink, and we had some friends stop by from Daytona, and he was just entertaining them for like 25 minutes, and then instantly, here comes a crash, and he was laying on the chair there and just started crying. He was tired. I did feel bad for him, but we laughed so hard. It's like, wow, that happened quick. Because he doesn't get a lot of sugar. So when he does, and now they know, we're laughing about that about 10 hours later. It's like, okay, note to self. Nothing in a tall glass like this.
No.
The other thing I like about being in BNI is to meet folks like you and others that have been on the show, is the tie to the community. Just to talk to, because I always like showing people the type of people in BNI. I mean, good folks, hard workers, but you are a volunteer with the North Carolina Regional Advisory Council.
Yes,
and
for Comfort Zone Camp.
Yeah, that helps grieving kids.
Yes. So, what is it? 1 in 13 kids lose a parent or sibling.
Wow.
So Comfort Zone Camp is a camp for kids who have lost either a parent, sibling, or a guardian, someone close to them. So camp is free for the kids. They get to go and meet other kids who are dealing with the exact same thing they are, with grief, and learning that you can play and have fun and still be grieving. It's just a great program. So we are actually getting ready to start our annual 5K Your Way. So I'll be posting lots of things about that for people to either donate, to participate, or create their own teams and participate however they like.
Very
But
cool.
yeah,
So
so
1
thank
in
you.
13 kids, is that by a certain age that they have lost a loved one?
Um, that I'm not by a certain age. It's usually by the time they're 18.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I was just recently on a girls' trip, and a friend of mine is a teacher in West Virginia, and she told me that over 50% of the kids in her school, not in her class, but in her school, have either lost a parent, their parent is in jail, or they've been taken away from their parent because of opioids.
Wow. Wow.
So,
Yeah.
there's definitely a tie to that. And there's a tie to COVID, and then,
Yeah.
all the other things that happen.
Where can people get some information on these events?
It's comfortzonecamp.org.
Cool.
Yeah, but
Very
it's a
cool.
great organization, and we're always looking for businesses to sponsor. If anybody's interested, I would love to talk to them.
Good. Yeah. And that's one of my favorite things about BNI is meeting people like you that are tied to the community. All right, real quick before we wrap it up, we educated at the beginning of the show. So what's one thing somebody can do today to make sure they've got whatever they've got, if they've got it, and what it looks like? What can they do?
They can either call me or they can call their agent to do a review, to make sure that they, what I call a gap review. I mean, I sit down with people and I'll tell you if there's something you have that you don't need, or if there's a gap there that we can fill. But just really making sure and having the conversation with your family and really work on an estate plan. It's not something you want to think about or do, but it makes it so much easier when something does happen.
And whether you have a life insurance agent or an auto and home agent, you should expect, as the consumer, we should expect an annual review of our policy.
Yes.
And if people aren't getting that, they need to ask questions why.
They do. Because so many people, I mean, the first thing I look at when I get what we call orphan clients that don't have an agent is, people are like, no, I don't want you to sell me anything. And that's not what I'm trying to do. I'll certainly look for any gaps or any changes in your life, but the main thing is to make sure your beneficiaries are up to date.
Yeah. Yep. Just those little things.
Cause
yep.
Big problems.
Yeah. And the last thing anybody wants to do is put their life and their money in the hands of the state they live in.
Right.
Not knocking states, but you don't want somebody you don't know making decisions about you and your life and your money. So call. We've been putting Cindy's number up here on the screen throughout the show. Please give her a call if you don't have somebody. If you have an agent, call them. Right. Call them and just make sure your stuff's up to date. That's all.
Right.
That's the first thing. So anyway, Cindy, it's been a blast. Always enjoy our conversations. I like this, the passing. See, I always make a note. I keep a Excel sheet about shows, number of the show, who was on it, the date. And I always put a little note for me to remember. And this one is passing the $100 bill between each other.
Exactly.
That is so good. I like that because I've never been in that world, so I like things like that. But anyway, Cindy's BNI chapter meets Thursday mornings at 9 a.m. in Apex. If you're in that area, go visit them. Cindy, best of luck in 2022, and I know you and I will be seeing each other at networking events.
Yes. Thank you, Mike.
And we will see everybody next time on Triangle BNI.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel Follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.